Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Stephanie. I'm a life and relationship coach. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to click on post notifications. This channel is all about a ton of stuff. This is self-development 101 right here. This is learning how to really love ourselves. This is learning how to be emotionally and mentally healthy, which I think everyone could use a dose of that in this day and age that we live in, with all the stress and the things that go on in the world today. Learning how to really be able to take care of yourself emotionally and mentally is so unbelievably important, and it's something that unfortunately we don't learn how to really do for ourselves growing up. So this channel is here to help you do that. So this week I want to get into being in a relationship with someone who's an empath. And if you're watching this, chances are you are the empath. And maybe not. Maybe you are married to someone or in a relationship with someone that they know that they're empathetic, highly empathetic, and you want to just basically be the best partner you can be for this person. And so learning about what an empath is really important. But if you're in a relationship, chances are you kind of know these traits that your partner has. But I want to go over really the key things that you have to focus on being the partner of someone who is an empath. Now, like with all relationships, really understanding who your partner is and respecting them for who they are and valuing the things that they are within themselves and bring to the table is really, really essential to have a healthy, harmonious, happy relationship, right? I always say that the number one thing in any relationship is respect. If you don't respect who the person is, you're not going to communicate well, you're not going to be loyal, you're not going to be faithful, you're not going to want to work on the relationship because you don't value who this person is. So when you learn about your partner and you understand, okay, my partner is an empath, and I know what an empath is, but understanding that these are the things that this person needs in order for them to be the healthiest person that they can be. And understanding that someone who is an empath is not a diagnosis, it's not a mental illness, it's a trait. It's not an illness, it's something that they were born to be. So just like you were born, with brown eyes and that's a trait that you have, someone who is an empath, that's a trait as well. It was built in them from birth. It wasn't something that they learned. It wasn't a scar that they have now. It's just who they are innately. So this first thing that you really have to love and respect about your partner is that they need their alone time. When I tell you I'm an empath, and one of the things that I need to give to myself is quality time by myself. I very rarely turn the TV on. I almost need to be in silence so I can just kind of like decompress. When I was younger and I would get out of school, I would immediately go to school and just go home. I was never the kid that wanted to go out after school. I needed to go home and relax and like decompress from the day, because the day was cluttered with noises and activities and people talking, and I had to focus, and it was just a lot of energy that was always around me. And so in order for me to really take care of myself growing up, I just learned that that's what I needed. I needed that alone time. And I think that when you're in a young adult or a teenager, you can get that, right? But when you get involved in a relationship, it's not just about you. And I feel like sometimes your partner, if they don't really understand how much you need this, will get upset by you wanting that time for yourself or wanting that alone time. Because if you're an empath and you're in a relationship with someone who's possibly a little insecure or codependent themselves and needy, they don't want you to have your alone time, right? They don't really understand why you need to get away from them. And it's nothing personal. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It's just what we need to be able to take care of our own selves. So understanding that your partner at times might need to go meditate. They might need to go do acupuncture or whatever it is that they do to kind of calm themselves and center themselves and really refuel. Like that alone time is their ability to recharge their energy. The next thing is, when you are having a argument or, a discussion with an empath, understand that they can get overwhelmed very easily. So unless you're dealing with an empath, so for me, I used to always get overwhelmed. It would be a lot, especially if I had to go toe to toe with someone who was very like a strong personality. I would 100% get very exhausted and overwhelmed, and I would shut down, and I just didn't even know how to handle the situation. Now that also had, for me personally, it also had to do with some like emotional wounds that I had and not as much confidence in myself and self-love and knowing how to take care of myself when I'm dealing with certain personalities. But I think regardless, that most empaths across the board, whether they know how to handle confrontation or not, do get very exhausted when there's a lot of back and forth, and they can get overwhelmed in conversations, and they kind of always need to take a step back so they can like regroup and kind of understand like, okay, what do I want to get out of this? Like, what's happening? It's their ability to almost like take a step back and declutter from all the stuff that's going on in our minds. So respecting that, and also helping the person, the empath, be confident in themselves, and maybe even help them through that, and recognizing, hey, I can sense you're getting overwhelmed right now. Like, why don't we just take a minute? And not having to always have the empath do that. Because like I said, if you're dealing with an empath that doesn't know how to handle confrontation or how to handle themselves sometimes, and they get overwhelmed and they shut down, your ability to help them through that and teach them how to kind of either hold on to themselves or learn how to, what do you need to do when you get overwhelmed? Like, do you need to just take a step back? Let's just do that. Let's take a breather, and not just pounce and want to get a resolution from this argument or this discussion right away. Being respectful and knowing your partner well enough to say, I think we just need a minute. Even if you're fine, just being able to sense that in your partner and putting that person first, I think is absolutely beautiful. And it's something that would really help an empath, and not just an empath, it would even help just your relationship in general to just kind of diffuse like the tension that's going on right now, and just separate for a minute so you both can kind of collect your thoughts. The next thing that you should really understand about an empath is not only do they get overwhelmed in like conversational situations, right? Like, an empath isn't always the person that's the social butterfly. They can absolutely be a social person, but they're not a person that's probably going to be in or want to be in a social environment for a very, very, very long period of time. So someone who has to be at a party and schmoozing and talking to others, or being in a really loud environment, like, it may not be the most beneficial to them. Not that they can't ever do it or can't do it at all. It's just, it depends on how long they can be in there and be fully engaged. So I always say, like, this is where I can dip my toe in that pool, and I can be that person, and I can be social, and I can be in a crowded place and not get overwhelmed with all the energy and things that are going on. But I also need to recognize, okay, like, my time's kind of up, and I might stretch myself here and there to kind of, if I'm with a group or if I'm with another person and they really want to be there, I might, obviously compromise. But at the end of the day, when I know that I need to take a step back because I'm getting really drained and exhausted, I have to be able to be honest with myself and my partner, and have my partner not be upset every single time that I bring this to them. I remember being in a relationship once where I would be in social settings with this person, and I would kind of like hit my threshold. And there were times where I definitely like pushed it even further. I said, okay, I'm getting really overwhelmed, or I'm getting really drained and exhausted right now, but I'm going to stay because this person's having a good time and I love them, and I want to obviously, compromise as well. And then there were times where when I did voice my opinion, I was immediately, constantly made to feel bad about myself because this is who I was. And so that just goes to show that you should always go off how you feel in a relationship. You should always feel understood and respected. And even if the person doesn't like it always, that they know that this is you and that they value you, and that they don't want you to be in an environment that isn't comfortable and harmonious for you, right? If you're not happy. I always look at it like, if you're not happy, then I'm not happy either. Like, I want you to be content and at peace and not overwhelmed and anxious. And like I said, it's a compromise. There were times where I kind of put myself out there even more to, be there for that person because I knew that person wanted to be there. But then I never felt that in return. I always felt like there was something wrong with me when I would say, I don't always want to be in these types of environments. And it's just because we were two different people. So I think that how you can help your partner through that is just by understanding this person, understanding when they get overwhelmed, and respecting them for who they are. I think one of the really helpful things that you can ever do for someone who is empathetic is to bring light to the relationship. For someone who can pick up so many different energies, and when you're feeling sad and down, it is going to affect your empath. Like, it just is. So I'm not saying don't be human and ever go through anything difficult, but just know that when you go through something, the minute you've kind of moved past it, your empath is probably just taking that on, or they're just dealing with what they had to go through while you were going through a difficult time. Just like any relationship, but for someone who is empathetic, it is very different, because it's something that I think a lot of us who are empaths wish that we could kind of turn off at times, but we can't. And so understanding that when we watch something on the news, when we watch a movie, like, we get overwhelmed, we get very into the movie, and it can actually cause us to feel really sad, depressed, overwhelmed, anxious. These things affect us on a much deeper level. So respecting your partner, like I said throughout the course of this video, for who they are, and understanding that they get overwhelmed when they hear things, when they see things. But on the flip side, one of the things that is so beautiful about, at least I think, for being an empath, is that because we have this deep ability to feel, we are extremely, extremely giving and caring. And I know I am a giving and caring person, and sometimes it's to a fault. Sometimes in the past, I didn't put myself first, which is something that empaths struggle with. But, for these things that we have to deal with in life, being able to take on so much, and all of these energies affecting us, and us feeling emotionally drained every single day, and how do we really balance that and take care of ourselves? The good that comes of being in a relationship with someone like this is when they're in, they are all in. They love extremely hard, extremely deep. They are completely loyal and faithful, and they are such caring, giving people. I always say that it really takes a very, very strong and secure person in order to really love someone who's an empath, because you have to look at this person and value everything that makes them who they are. And I always think that at times it can be difficult to love someone who's empathetic, because there are certain things about ourselves that we don't often love. I don't often love that I get so exhausted, or that I take on other people's stuff as if it was my own, and it affects me in such a way. I wish that wasn't always the case, but there are so many beautiful things that I really, really love about myself, and I'm so glad that I'm an empath. I mean, heck, I wouldn't be a coach if I wasn't an empath. I think it is my calling, and I think that it's my calling because I am someone who's so highly empathetic, and I want to help people. The people that are the empaths in the world are the healers. They are the people that are not all, but are the nurses and the doctors and the creative people and the people that want to bring light and harmony and joy to the world. And so those are the people that are really helping this world. And so we have to value that within that person. So in order to really love someone, you have to see who they are when they sometimes forget, and you have to see all the value that they bring to the relationship when at times they're going through something really difficult, because they are empathetic. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope it taught you just a little bit more about the empath in your life that you may not have already known. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on post notifications so you will be informed every time I do upload a new video. And I will see you next week.